Hey y'all, welcome back. My name is Christina, and on this channel I talk about this book, The Baby Whisperer Solves All Your Problems. Today we are going to be talking about Tracy Hog's easy routine, which she talks about throughout her book. And specifically, we're going to be talking about her routine that she recommends for babies that are under 8 weeks old. She first recommends this routine starting at about 4 weeks, and she says that it is a good enough routine to keep until about 8 weeks. The reason why she doesn't recommend it any earlier than 4 weeks is because you really do want to spend those first few weeks making sure that your baby is healthy and gaining weight, and that you're eliminating any breastfeeding or feeding issues that you might be having. But you can get your baby on this routine sooner than that. With my last 2 babies, now I have 3 babies, I was able to get both of them on this routine probably more around 3 weeks or so, but it wasn't perfect, obviously. So if you don't know about this routine, I'm going to throw it up here so that we can take a look at it on the screen together. And it looks at first like a very normal routine. It's the easy, so it's eat, activity, sleep, and then you time. I first used this routine with my second daughter because I did not have this book when my first daughter was born, and I found an issue with it. But when I just had my third baby, I had my son, he kind of helped solidify my suspicion that this routine is actually not a good recommendation. With all of the easy routines in her book, you should be able to tweak them a little bit to fit your needs and your baby's needs, but I think that there is an issue with this routine in particular that does not actually suit the needs of any baby that's under 8 weeks old. So we're going to take a look at that. And I'm going to introduce a new topic that I have come up with that I have called nap math. So if you just need to know a little bit about babies, you know when babies are under 8 weeks old, they need between 15 to 16 hours of sleep within 24 hours. That means if they're getting 15 to 16 hours of sleep, that they need about 8 to 9 hours of wake time. So a lot of the time we're focused on hitting the sleep goal that we forget about hitting the wake time goal. And in this routine specifically that Tracy has laid out, she actually does not offer enough wake time for babies under 8 weeks. So when I had my second daughter, she had a lot of issues waking up at night, and she would do a whole wake window in the middle of the night. And I would be up with her trying to get her back down, trying to use the 4S method. And it wouldn't work until essentially an hour had passed and a whole wake window had passed, and she was just actually ready to go back to sleep. Additionally, we would sometimes have later bedtimes. That would be another issue when I tried to follow this routine. And it was because my daughter was trying to sneak in another wake window before she went to bed. So at this age, under 8 weeks, you're looking at a 1 hour wake window, definitely at 4 weeks, a 1 hour wake window. But if our child needs 8 to 9 wake hours during the day and their wake window is 1 hour, then they need to have 8 to 9 wake windows. And in this routine, there is only maybe 6 wake windows here. I think that you can use this concept of nap math for any age baby. You just need to calculate what their determined wake window is, either by observing them. You can just Google it, say like, what's the wake window for a 6-month baby supposed to be? And you just want to take that base number and then obviously see if your child is average, above average, below average in that, and then add up how many wake windows they need to have the wake hours that are appropriate for their age. And honestly, most babies are getting about 15 to 16 hours of sleep. Even my son right now, he's 8 months old, and in a 24-hour period, he is still getting 15 hours of sleep. So there's really not a big change. It's just how many naps he has condense and they reduce, and his wake windows get longer during the day. You could argue that a baby around 4 weeks too might need about 17 hours of sleep, but I always find that even 16 hours is a little too much for babies at this age. Solution that I came up with, I did this with my third baby and it worked really well, was what I call a split nap. So I'm gonna put this routine that's on the book back in up on the screen. This is what's recommended for 0 to 8 weeks. Taking a look at this routine, you are looking at about 3 2-hour nap periods for a 4-week-old who can only stay awake for 1 hour at a time. You're also seeing 2 cat naps, which are about 30 to 40 minutes long, depending on your child specifically. It's essentially the length of one sleep cycle their cat nap is. So what I would do is I call this a split nap. I took one of the long 2-hour naps and I cut it in half, and I added a wake window in the middle of the nap. So for example, if you take a look at the 2 o'clock nap, I'd put him down at 2. He would do a whole sleep cycle and maybe wake up around 2:30, 2:45 at the latest. And I would just wake him up and have him do another wake window. So at 2:30, let's say he's up, he's awake until 3:30, and I put him back down for another 30 to 40 minute nap. So he's waking up again at 4 in time for his next feed, but he added in another wake window in order to add up to the proper amount of time that he needs to stay awake. This would help us keep bedtime at the scheduled time. He would probably have his bedtime at around 8:30 and do a little bit of a longer wake window in the evening. And then he didn't have any wakings in the nighttime when it was just a full wake window for no reason. Another benefit to this is it kind of gives you a little bit of a break. At this age, at 4 weeks, your baby is not going to be very good at sleeping, and you're probably doing the 4S method a lot to calm them and to get them back to sleep. And it can be really frustrating, especially during those long 1.5 to 2 hour naps where you have to go in there and spend basically an hour or the rest of the nap trying to get them back down. But instead, you can take their worst nap that they can't sleep the 2 hours for and just cut it in half, and you don't have to spend all of that time getting them back down. So that was a huge benefit for me, especially with my third baby. I was able to pick his worst nap so that I didn't have to spend all of my time in here getting him back to sleep, and I could just pick him up and have him do a wake window with the rest of the family. And that was a lot easier on me pressure wise, so that I didn't have to try to elongate 3 different naps during the day, but only 2. It doesn't have to be a regular thing either. I found that I could kind of pick which nap I wanted to make the split nap. So if it was his morning nap, usually he would do his morning nap pretty well, but if for some reason he didn't do it very well and I didn't have the time to be in here to get him back to sleep, then I would be like, okay, this is going to be his split nap for the day then. And later in the day, we'll do longer naps for the other 2. All right, so now you've implemented the split nap, you've done nap math, and you're figuring out exactly how many wake windows your child needs. Once you hit 8 weeks old, you should not have to do this anymore. You should be dropping a cat nap. Your child should be closer to an 1.5 hour wake window, which gives them more time, and then you should have still 3 longer naps. Of course, every baby has different needs, so if your baby is 8 weeks and they do still need a little more wake time, then you can use this trick to sneak them in wake time during the day. But definitely by 12 weeks, when they hit the 3-month mark, you're going to have them on a 3-hour easy routine, and I have a video about that you can watch as well. And you certainly won't be dealing with these issues then. Also, regarding this routine that Tracy Hogg has for 4-week-olds, I wanted to point out another thing that I found helpful is with the Dreamfeed that's listed. I have actually found that your baby doesn't really even need you to start the Dreamfeed until closer to 6 to maybe even 8 weeks. Usually around 4 weeks, they're too sleepy for a Dreamfeed. And I love the Dreamfeed. I like that I can do it and it will set the pace for the rest of my night. But when we're talking about 8 weeks and younger, I don't think you need to have the Dreamfeed in here. I think you're just gonna be feeding as needed at night. And I have gotten a few people who have had issues waking up their baby for that Dreamfeed. And I just wanna say, don't even bother. If your baby's not waking up, don't even do it. Just wait until they're older and they can actually wake up fully to take in a full feed, because you're just gonna stress yourself out if they're not doing that. And that's all there is to nap math and split naps. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them down below. I would love to hear about your experience or any issues that you're dealing with that are similar to this, and I'd love to help you out if I can. And if you haven't already, please subscribe, please give it a thumbs up, and all of that as well. And stay tuned, I'd like to be doing some more videos again soon.